Hi, I'm Linda from zialindas.com, and I'm actually going to make an old family favorite. It's called Spitzada, and really what it is a slow braised pork. We use a pork butt, and we braise it with some nice tomatoes, actually by using some concentrated tomato paste and some wine, and then we just add some peppers, red and green peppers, cut up. Let that cook for probably a couple of hours until it all simmers down and makes this amazing hearty dish, which is wonderful with Italian bread. So we're going to start by heating up the pan. So let's turn this on and put some olive oil in here. And you can use any kind of olive oil. You know, you can use extra virgin, you can use even my parents used to use a combination of olive oil and like a vegetable oil. It was called La Spagnola. You can use whatever you want, but just use olive oil. This is just regular extra virgin olive oil. And later we're going to be adding to this our family wine, which is Martin Ulysses. This is a Sangiovese, which is a really nice full-bodied deep red. Which is really going to get in there and help that meat tenderize. So we're going to let this heat up a bit, and while we're doing that, I'm going to grab the pork. This is about 3.5 pounds of pork butt. This is actually what we use when we make sausages. It's a really fatty cut of pork, so it's not anything that you would want to cook lightly and eat. The pork butt really needs to cook for a long time in order for it to become tender. The beautiful thing about this dish is that when you've let this simmer and cook for a number of hours, this pork butt, you actually can, some people will ask you, what meat is this? Is this beef? Because it actually will taste like beef because it is so rich and it's so tenderized. It just pulls apart when you cook it. So now I probably have about 3 cloves of garlic all chopped up. And I'm going to add that and add that to our nice oil that is. And we don't want this to burn. So we're going to move a little quickly and we're going to start immediately adding our pork. Because I want this pork to braise and to braise nicely. I love the sound that this makes. Sizzling meat. So now, of course, you know, when you get this in here, I'm going to lower this heat just a little because I don't want it to burn, but I do want to get some nice caramelization going. And we're going to end up deglazing this pan with our wonderful Martin Ulysses Sangiovese. So now we're going to add a little bit of salt and pepper. I like to use sea salt. Started using that a few years ago and just can't seem to go back. And then we'll use a little bit of pepper. Some nice, fresh, cracked pepper. Works great with this, too. I wish that you could smell this. It smells wonderful. I think that, you know, that's one of the things, you know, when you watch the Food Network and you watch these different TV shows, you see all this stuff that they're making. I don't think we can ever fully get that wonderful, wonderful sense of what's really going on in the kitchen unless we're really there. And right now I wish you were really here because this smells great. All right, just mixing this around a little bit. I think I may want to turn it up a tad more. Here we go. And this is about 3.5, close to 4 pounds of meat. And you know, you don't always find pork butt. I happened to get in my head as I was going to the market yesterday that I was thinking about making this. I knew it was going to be kind of a rainy day, and I was looking for a rainy comfort food. And then, of course, my husband makes, and I, together, we make sausages. And so I thought, oh, let's do some sausage. So I got 2 big pieces of pork butt. And then we decided to put the other one away, and we're going to make some sausage later on this weekend. And we decided to go ahead and make the Spitzada with this. And I got some, you know, sometimes they have great sales on peppers. So I got a nice batch of peppers, which of course you see in the cut peppers. And we're going to actually take these later on today, now that the rain has stopped and the sun might be coming out a bit. We're going to go out into the grill and we're going to roast these. And then we're going to make roasted peppers. And I have that recipe on the zialinda.com as well, and on the Made with Love Facebook page. I think I have the recipe out there as well. And that's a wonderful accompaniment to salads, or just to eat on its own with some nice fresh Italian bread. But our family loves the roasted red peppers, so it's another family favorite. The one thing we want to make sure that we do is really cook this meat well. We want to get it nicely braised, because that's really going to help in the cooking process and in the tenderizing process. Because what's really going to tenderize this meat is the addition of the wine and the tomato paste, because that's really all we're going to be adding to this. And I might add a little bit of water, but we'll see once we get going, because the meat makes its own juices, and then when you add the peppers, they make some juice too. And so it really is a very flavorful, delicious dish. Turning that up just a touch more. I'm going to put the olive oil away because we're not going to be needing that anymore. And I'm going to grab the tomato paste, because that will be coming up in a little bit. So I think we're going to take a little break, and when we come back, this meat will be nicely braised, and then we'll be adding the other ingredients. Well, welcome back. As you can see, our pork is starting to cook really nicely, creating some of its own juices in here. So this is coming along really nice. So the next thing we're going to do is add some wine. Now, I'm really bad with measurements. Like my parents, we never measure anything. We cook by taste, by feel, by smell. This is probably about 1.5 cups, almost 2 cups. We're just going to finish off the bottle, which I'd say is about 2 cups, maybe 2.25. And that kind of slows everything down. The smell, though, right now is fabulous. You've got the smell of this wonderful, full-bodied Sangiovese wine, which is going to just add such a depth to this dish. And you've got that now actually deglazing the pan and penetrating this beautiful meat. And at the same time, I'm now going to add some tomato paste. And this is kind of where the elbow grease really comes in, because you're going to mix it up. And at first it's going to be a little clumpy and it'll be all over the place. But eventually this, and it can get a little messy, this tomato paste will break down. Now, sometimes I have to add some water. I think there's a lot of juice here. I don't think that that's going to be the case today. But we'll just see. We'll take it slow and we'll see what goes on here. While we were away, as the meat was braising, I did add a little more salt. It's a simple dish. Really not a lot of ingredients, not a lot of parts to it. Just very simple. A lot of the cooking that my parents did was very simple. My family is from Abruzzi, which is the mountain region in Italy. We're about 2.5 hours northeast of Rome, and on the side of the Adriatic. And my parents always cooked, they always said we're peasants, we're the mountain people. We cook very simply. And they did, simply and delicious. Our house was always filled. People, you pop in, you couldn't just come in to visit. You had to come in and have a full meal, because the second you walked in, my mother would be talking to you as she's got the pot going on the stove with water to boil, the pasta's coming out, the sauce, if there wasn't in the refrigerator, she was taking a container out from the freezer. The next thing you know, you've got a 7-course meal in front of you, and that's just the way it is. And it's funny because my siblings and I were kind of almost the same way, all of us. It's the same thing, and I think that's also traveling to my nieces and my nephew as well. It's just the way that we were raised, and it's our form of hospitality is, I think, food. But as you can see now, this is actually blended really nicely. So this wine with the tomato paste is just going to make a fabulous sauce. And that's mingled with the juices from the pork. So this is going to cook now. It's going to cook for a while because you want this meat to break down. You want it to become really tender. And there's a lot of fat in pork butt. So that fat is going to break down, and that's just going to make the meat even more tender and make this even juicier. Then when we add this, and we're going to wait, we'll come back in a little bit, and we're going to add the peppers. That's going to create more juice and bring its own flavor to the dish. So there's a lot of layers in here. I do think I want to add just a little bit more wine before we go. So I think in total we're probably going to end up here with close to 3 cups of wine. Can never have too much wine. Of course, I should have a glass and pour a glass of this beautiful Montanulisi Sangiovese. The wine is just fabulous. And I think I might do that while we're waiting for this dish to simmer up. So we'll see you shortly. All right, so we've just let it saute just a little bit more after we added that wine and gave it a little taste. And of course, it's still very strong with the wine flavor right now. A lot of that will evaporate and burn off, but what I want to do now is I want to add these peppers because I'm gonna do this in just a couple of batches because I want this then to just sit and linger. Just sit and saute and just develop its flavors. And we'll take a long break actually while this happens because it's going to take a couple of hours. And actually we're going to make some homemade bread because this is a perfect dish for dunking bread. It's just wonderful to eat this, have a nice loaf of crusty Italian bread to dunk into all these juices. So just give it a second here. We're going to get this all incorporated. I actually prefer more red peppers to green, and I think that's about what I did here. There's probably about 6 red peppers and 3 green. I like the red peppers better. They're sweeter. And there's about 12 ounces of tomato paste in here as well. And I think like you saw, I think we have about 3 cups of wine and the garlic cloves, a little bit of oil, and the pork butt. And that, my friends, is called Spitzada. Ciao. And we're back, and our wonderful Spitzada has now finished. I don't know if you can see these wonderful juices in the bottom of the pan here, but it has just simmered for several hours, and the pork is nice and tender. The peppers, you can see, are nice and sauteed, but they still don't lose their shape. They've still got a great little crunch. And we have all this wonderful juice down here that this is going to go wonderful with some nice crusty Italian bread. So this is what we're going to be having for dinner tonight. It's going to be a wonderful bowl of Spitzada, nice glass of wine, some nice Italian bread, and of course wonderful company. So ciao, bon appetit.